Never stop reading Bible. Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into an absolutely foundational story about struggle, family, and what it really means to be transformed. We're going to follow the journey of a man named Jacob who has to go back and face a past that he ran away from 20 years ago. And really, this is the question at the heart of the whole story. It feels ancient, but at the same time, it's something we can all understand, right? How do you possibly go back and fix things after years of conflict and broken relationships? Well, Jacob's journey, it gives us a pretty powerful roadmap. Okay, so let's set the stage. Our story picks up after 2 long decades. Jacob has been living far, far away from home with his uncle, Laban. But things have gotten, well, pretty toxic. So for 20 years, Jacob worked for his uncle. He got tricked into a marriage, had to work for years and years for his wives, and in that time, he built a huge family and became incredibly wealthy. But by that 20th year, the relationship had completely soured, and then a command from God set everything in motion. It was time to go home. Here's the thing. As God blessed Jacob, his family grew, his flocks multiplied, everything was going right for him. But his success didn't make his uncle Laban happy. Nope, it just fueled this insane jealousy and resentment. The family ties that were supposed to be a safe haven had basically become a trap. So Jacob's got this command from God, and he's also dealing with this terrible relationship. What does he do? He makes a run for it. He packs up the whole shebang, his wives, his kids, all his possessions, and just leaves, in secret. So this isn't just moving, this is a really high-stakes escape. Of course, Laban chases after him, and it leads to this super tense showdown where God actually has to step in to protect Jacob. But the conflict ends in a really interesting way, not with violence, but with something called the Mizpah covenant. They pile up stones to make a boundary, basically drawing a line in the sand and saying, all right, our troubled history ends right here. You stay on your side, I'll stay on mine. So Jacob manages to escape one conflict, but it only propels him straight toward an older and, frankly, a much more terrifying one. You see, the real ghost from Jacob's past wasn't his uncle Laban. It was his twin brother Esau. Jacob had fled home 20 years before because he had tricked his own father and stolen the blessing that was meant for his older brother. The last time they saw each other, Esau literally wanted to kill him. And now, Jacob has to walk right back into the lion's den. And what's wild is that even after seeing a vision of angels, a clear sign of God's protection, Jacob's fear just completely takes over. He goes right back to his old playbook, scheming, strategy, self-preservation. He sends messengers, he divides his entire camp into 2 groups just in case one gets attacked, he prays desperately, and he sends wave after wave of gifts to try and appease his brother. The man is absolutely terrified. But here's the twist. Jacob's most important confrontation wasn't actually going to be with Esau. It happened the night before they were supposed to meet, when Jacob was all alone, by a river. And this is the moment where everything changes. So picture this. He sends his family, his servants, and every single thing he owns across the Jabbok River, and he stays behind. He's completely alone in the pitch black of night. It's such a powerful image of isolation. He's been stripped of his wealth, his family, and all his clever strategies. He's left with nothing but his fear and his past. And in that darkness, an unknown man appears, and they begin to wrestle. And I'm not talking about a quick scuffle. This is an all-night struggle that goes until dawn. It's like the war that's been raging inside of Jacob his entire life. His fight for control, for blessings, for his very identity, has suddenly become a real physical fight. After hours of wrestling, the man touches Jacob's hip and puts it out of its socket. So Jacob is wounded, he's exhausted, but he still refuses to let go. He clings to the man and says these unbelievable words, I will not let you go unless you bless me. This is a new Jacob. He's no longer trying to trick or steal a blessing. He's broken, he's just hanging on, and he's simply asking for one. It's a moment of total surrender. So now Jacob is limping from his encounter, but he has a new name and a new blessing. He finally goes to meet his brother. He has wrestled with God and man, and now he has to face the consequences of his past. Jacob arranges his family for maximum protection, bowing down to the ground 7 times as he approaches, fully expecting to meet a vengeful warrior. I mean, he prepared for the absolute worst, but what he got was the one thing he never, ever planned for. Esau runs to him, throws his arms around him, and they weep. Just like that. 20 years of bitterness and anger just dissolve in a moment of pure grace. And this is so key. While God was transforming Jacob by the river, he was also at work in Esau's heart, turning that desire for revenge into a spirit of forgiveness. So let's take a look at how this incredible reconciliation paves the way for Jacob's brand new beginning in the land that he was promised. After their reunion, Esau invites Jacob to travel and live with him, but Jacob politically declines the offer. They part ways as friends, but on separate paths, and this separation is pretty significant. It might suggest that God's people sometimes need to maintain a distinct identity, even after a joyful reconciliation. And for the first time in his life, Jacob doesn't just camp on some land temporarily. He actually buys it. He's putting down roots. And what is the very first thing he does? He builds an altar to God. The deceiver and the wanderer has finally come home. And not just physically to a place, but spiritually. He's come home to his God. So that's the journey of Jacob's return. It's an incredible story that moves from fear to forgiveness, from wrestling to an embrace. And it leaves us with this final thought. Jacob had to be broken before he could be truly blessed. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In our own lives, what kind of wrestling is required before we can find our own new beginning? This explainer was created by the Center Studio.